Hey guys, so I actually wanted to make this video. I remember I wanted to do this video in August 24th. Well, around that time, 2025 while I was in DC. But I guess I forgot or something happened. So we'll be able to do a language analysis, words and everything. Now, I should do this more often because I should. Anyways, I should do more. That's not what I wanted. Atlas. So I want to do more of these because it happens every August 24th, and there's some very interesting information that we can get. So I forget which. I don't know which one of these I need to look at first. Whichever one is sooner. Okay, that's the last one. This is the first one. August 24th of 2024. So, was it 2023? Let me think. 2024. Yeah, it's 2024. So that's the first one that I wanted to make sure. I couldn't quite remember. It was 2023. I was 2023. I was supposed to look at, or 2024. But yeah, it's 2024. All right, so we're gonna read this. It says, "Dear people, keep a note of that. Ukrainians will pay back their debts, and whoever wished misery upon our land shall find it in their own home, with interest. Whoever seeks to sow evil on our land will reap its fruit on their own territory." We're not just talking about Russia here. And also, Ukrainians also always pay back their debts, referring to they pay back the loans and all that. So this is actually a warning sign to the United States. This is not a prophecy, not gloating, not blind revenge. It is a pattern. It is justice, a boomerang for evil, and its launch began not far from the place where I'm recording this address. The Sumy region. Marustia, but something like that. The river of Sel. I don't know if the P is silent. I haven't heard of that. I haven't heard these words before. I know Sumy, but I don't know these others. A few kilometers away from our border. The border between Ukraine and oppression, between life and death, the border between an independent European state and the number one terrorist organization in the world. Now, what's it referring to here? The border between an independent European state and the number one terrorist organization in the world. It's not referring to that. What is it referring to here? Russia, the United States? What's the organization? What is being organized? What is the terror? It doesn't say. But reading what it says here, we always pay back our debts, sets the tone that this is about America, not Russia, which you would see from right here. You would think. But yeah. Very interesting way to write. I don't know how they would write this in English. This is already in Ukrainian, as you can see. It's translated. Now, it is possible that this is written in English and not just a translation, but I don't know for sure. I don't know enough Ukrainian to be able to read in between lines like that. 913 days ago, Russia unleashed war against us. So this is talking to somebody. It says, "Dear people," and you're going to see this pattern throughout this thing. Anyways, Russia unleashed war against us, including through the Sumy region. It violated not only our sovereign borders, but also the limits of cruelty and common sense. It was endlessly striving for one thing, to destroy us. Instead, today we celebrate the 33rd Independence Day of Ukraine, and whatever the enemy was bringing to our land has now returned to our home. And the one who wanted to turn our land into a buffer zone should think about preventing his country from becoming a buffer federation. So it's talking about a one. And the one who wanted to turn our land into a buffer zone should think about preventing his country from becoming a buffer federation. It's talking about the United States. The one. It doesn't say the ones. It says the one. This is how independence responds. It retaliates for our civilians who are targeted by guided aerial bombs in... I don't know what that says. For our parents who have turned gray. For our children who are forced to study underground. For our people who would prefer never to know the names of these cursed places in their lives. Leka. I don't know. Olenia. Ingalls. But unfortunately, Ingalls is also... I don't know these places, but I know that Ingalls is a... That might be a double meaning. No, for all people who would prefer Ingalls. Ingalls... Good thing I'm using ChatGPT here. So, who was Ingalls? Friedrich Engels, a German philosopher, social scientist, revolutionary socialist, and political theorist, best known for his lifelong collaboration with Karl Marx, and as one of the founders of Marxism, the political economic philosophy behind modern communism. So I don't know if that's actually a... It says it's a... He says it's a place. These cursed places in their lives, but it could be a double meaning there. But unfortunately, Ukrainians know them. That is why... Olenia. I might know who that is. I might be thinking the wrong person. Who is Olenia? I think... I might be wrong about... Actually, who was the... Ukrainian poet who is on the Grivnia. Who was Ukrainian poet who was on... Oh, well, all of them are poets. Who was the female poet? That's who it is. Female. I might be getting her name wrong. Let's see what her name is. Okay, it's Lesia. Yeah, right. Ukrainian female. So it's not... I couldn't remember her name, but I didn't think it was Olenia. But it's Lesia. But for Ukrainians know this is why our enemy will also know what the Ukrainian way retaliation is. Were these symmetrical long ranged? They will know that sooner or later a Ukrainian response will reach any point in the Russian Federation that is a source of danger to the life of state and our people. It's talking to the United States again, but it's kind of like in a way that it's... Yeah. But it also sounds like it's talking to Russians. But look, but unfortunately, Ukraine. That is why our enemy will also know what the Ukrainian way retaliation is: worthy, symmetrical, and long ranged. So it's not just talking about long range in Russia; it's also talking about long range in the United States. They will know that sooner or later a Ukrainian response will reach any point in the Russian Federation. So they will know that sooner or later they will rush into the Russian Federation, which you could say refers to Russians, but it can also relate to the United States. That in the Russian Federation, that is a source of danger to the life of our state and our people. The faded eyes of their chief perceive the whole world as a gray zone. The faded eye of our chief. Our president is called the what's he called? Commander-in-Chief. The faded eyes of their chief perceive the whole world as a gray zone. I don't think he's talking about Putin here as chief. The whole world as a gray zone, because he doesn't. Now, in reference to Biden, that could be reference to Biden because he sees the whole world as a gray zone. But we were not allowed to turn into a gray zone or lands where the blue and yellow flag rightly belongs. A sick old man from the Red Square who constantly threatens everyone with the red button. They are talking about Putin there, but you could also say that's about Biden, a sick old man. Now he says from the Red Square, that would be, that would be, um, that would be Putin. But you could also say, well, maybe there was a meeting before Putin became president, or somewhere between, before, somewhere when Biden was a senator, he was in the Red Square, and he constantly, so, but that doesn't align to who constantly threatens everyone with the red button. Unless, but he has talked about having some retaliation against Russia. Uh, Anyways, let's see on track. So it doesn't necessarily all fit Biden, although you could make it stretch to fit Biden. But you know, only Ukrainians will determine how to live, what path to take, and what choice to make. Because this is how independence works. Now, if you've seen my video before about the SBU, Ukraine is the state. It is what the SBU represents. It's the state of what Ukraine do. So it's talking about together. They're going to be working together. We're determine how to live, what path to take, and what choice to make. So Ukraine, to some people see this. I talked to some people about this. So Ukraine is the continuation of the USSR, but it's not independent to the state. So it's not belonging to Ukrainians specifically. Even though you have the three-branch government and democracy and all that, that's still a divide between Ukraine, the state, and Ukrainians, the people. So that's a conflict between the two, and that's why Ukraine is in this war to begin with. Sorry, I just hit my mic. Because this is how independence works. Ukraine astonishes once again. Russia reverts once again to its repertoire. This is how the world media generally portray the events of the Kursk region. Now, when it says Ukraine here, it's not referring to the state. It's referring, it's referring to the country. Astonishes once again because you will not be astonished by the SBU if you were speaking from that perspective. You want to write that sentence right there. They show how Russia treats its citizens. Human cause of population, how Russia does not abandon their own, how their soldiers loot their local shops. This is what Putin's Russia looks like in the eyes of the world. And in the same way, the entire world sees how our warriors provide water, food, and medicine to the local people, who say, it's good that you are here now, not the Kedrovites. This is what Ukraine's dignity looks like. Right, they're talking about the country, not the state. The state of Ukraine, they're talking about the country. What Ukraine's dignity looks like. Although you could say the dignity would be in the state as well, but they don't have any indication that that's what they're saying here. Civility. This virtue of our independence. Civility. That's a loaded word. 33 years ago, Ukraine was reborn on the maps of the world. And today, Ukraine wins the hearts of the entire world. It inspires with courage. Now, this is where it's about to do a... It's building up to something. Let me see when it goes through. I can't find, but we're going to continue reading. It espouses courage. It serves as an example of how not to be afraid of Putin, and it unites the world around its Ukrainian worldview. Right. It's uniting the world by what Ukrainians see. In the 21st century, terrorists should find their reckoning in The Hague, not Comfort and Valdai. And no one else in the world will say, where is Ukraine? Because every continent now says Ukraine must win. This fuels our independence, our Ukraine. It has no lack of foreign regions. We need peace and tranquility on our lands. Along our entire 6,992 kilometer border, on land, at sea, in the air, inside the country, wherever we stand, guard for our values. Now, I don't know if you caught what they did there. You might have. I'm looking for it to see if they. That's what I was looking for. Because I remember when I first read this, I was like, this is very interesting language. I like this article. I like how it's written like this. It's very poetic, actually. Very poetic. I do not see it. All right. I'll read this because it's still there. We gotta really look into this. All right. All right. What was I? Just like our warriors do in all directions of the front line and the state border, referring to Ukraine's state border, which is symbolized by the border pillars. Symbolized by the border pillars, which is things like ideologies, differences in worldviews and opinions, stuff like that. And our will and struggle are symbolized by our people. So they're saying that it's by all the villains and our pillars. So they're fighting the ideologies. They're fighting the stuff like Engels, the communism of old, the ideologies of the USSR, and they're fighting all of that. And that's why Ukraine has the war. But it's a very deep level than just Russia. Those on whose shoulders Ukraine stands strong. It stands strong in Kharkiv, in Kupiansk. I think that's how you pronounce that, or Zaporizhzhia. It's very hard to. I used to be able to say these common names I could say, like Zaporizhzhia. It stands strong in Kherson region, in Pokrovsk, Toretsk, Kazavar, yeah. On the, I cannot continue speaking like that. This is how independence fights. And I want to say to all our warriors today, I wish you a strong one, and thank you guys. When the need to defend Ukraine arose, you shortly said, plus. Since then, for 913 days in a row, you have been applying a minus to the occupiers. Only you know how much effort, sweat, blood, and your extremely hard work is really hidden behind the dry statistics of enemy losses. Here we go with that language again. But it all comes together. It's like it's putting more stuff in there. Like when you think, well, is this really talking about it? It's adding words in there. Like, oh yeah, we're confirming that what you're thinking is true. I love this writing. Only you know what it really means to hold a position. What it means to be pinned down by enemy. What it means to be enemy artillery and aircraft all day long. It's switched there. What it means to stand firm when the orcs are pushing. You have preserved and are preserving our independence. I thank everyone who helps, all warriors in our state. Talking about Ukraine again. All those who live and work to keep our independence working. Our state would be the SBU. keeps our warriors, helps our warriors and the SPU, or those who, and all the other stuff as well, but mainly it's the SPU, keeping our all managed and our lines so nothing goes in chaotic mess. All those who live and work to keep our independence working and living. Our medical workers, our rescuers, our firefighters, para engineers, volunteers, and entrepreneurs, police officers and farmers, railroad workers, teachers and students. All of them, Ukrainians here, Ukrainians abroad, who help find and send the necessary supplies to the world about Ukraine. And everyone who stays with Ukraine in the temporary occupied territories. I don't know if you caught that. There's, we'll go back. I'm going to go back and go through here. But here's what it starts to say, guys. All Ukrainians whose strength has no borders, whose rule is boundless, all those who I am immensely grateful in the day for each of the 913 days of the war, for the cause of each of you, for proving that independence is a cause for everyone, and it has many dimensions. I love that. Each of which must be gained to secure comprehensive independence. This is economic, this is energy independence, this is the spiritual independence of the Ukrainian people. And Ukrainian Orthodoxy today is taking a step toward liberation from the devils of Moscow. That's another, I just love this writing. This is also the realization of justice for the wars of an independent Ukraine, which will never be won by those who portrayed it. This is the realization of justice for foreign heroes who defend Ukraine on the front line and deserve Ukrainian honor or citizenship. These are inevitable processes that have been launched by us today. This is how independence is straightened. And there should be a solid border between us and the enemy. And there will be no walls between Ukrainians, because Ukraine is in each one of us. Independence is in each one of us. And united we are able to win. See what I'm saying? It was proven by February 24th. It was proven by 2022 and 2023. This year is proving it as well. We have withstood, restrained, and repelled the enemy, and now we continue to do so in their swamps. We know what independence is, how difficult it is to revive it, how difficult it is to defend it, but we know everything depends on us. Happy Independence Day, Ukrainians. Lord Ukraine. So, I know I skipped that last paragraph, but for those who wasn't catching on what it was saying, it was talking about, it changed. No, remember when I said dear people? Dear people is what it started like, but it didn't end with people. It wasn't even talking about people. It was talking about Ukrainians. Here's the thing. Let's go back to where it was going, and you could see it throughout here. So, when it says Ukrainians, it's not talking about the people in Ukraine. It's also talking about people in a foreign land. You're thinking that, well, they're talking about Ukraine in a foreign land. But they changed the definition without telling you they changed the definition of Ukrainian. They're talking about people who are on Ukraine's side. And you can see this by how it says. So, I'm going to point out here that shows that. So, you tell the world about Ukraine, you're Ukrainian. And everyone who stays with Ukraine in the temporary occupied territories. Temporary occupied territories is referring to Donetsk and the Luhansk regions, but it's also talking about elsewhere. It's talking about a war without borders. It's talking about, remember, it talked about Engels, communism and a war without borders. That was the USSR philosophy. But this is talking about something different. This is talking about a different kind of that, without the ideology attached to it. So temporarily occupied territories, that'd be like the United States, Canada, Europe, and all them other places. All Ukrainians whose strength has no borders, again, going back to no borders language, whose world is boundless. You're Ukrainian in their eyes. And this is actually they actually did that to that was actually a thing that they did before, well, when the war started, and people were holding up flags and said, "You are Ukrainian," you know. And then when Germany, everyone around the world was holding flags for Ukraine. That was the Ukraine within them, which was referring again later on. All of those to whom I am immensely grateful. And today, let's see. Each of which must be gained to secure comprehensive independence. And of course, it did say it has many dimensions. This is the spiritual independence of the Ukrainian people. So being Ukrainian is a spiritual experience for people. And it's interesting how it says, and Ukrainian Orthodoxy today is taking a step toward liberation from the devils of Moscow. So, Ukrainian Orthodoxy, that's a very interesting thing, because Orthodoxy is like tradition. Ukrainian tradition today is taking a step toward liberation. So they're being liberated from Ukrainian tradition that was set forth from the devils of Moscow, which is, the SS, even the SBU, which was ex-KGB, they're liberating themselves to become independent. And with that, they're taking the entire world with it. This is also the realization, and they're going to do it whether the United States wants it to or not. Because remember, they're the enemy. They already know that the United States is going to be the enemy if they actually knew what was going on here. They already have that planned out. Putin already has that planned out. Everyone has that planned out. Except maybe probably Europe. But if you can read it between the lines, you can see it. And it definitely goes on and on about saying that, and then adds words that support that. Very, very interesting language here. This is the realization of justice for foreign heroes who defend Ukraine. Foreign heroes, that would be someone who isn't Ukrainian Orthodox, which says it right up here a few sentences before, and it says, on this front line deserve Ukrainian honor or citizenship. Now, that's interesting when it says or citizenship, and it's not saying citizenship. Who is R? Who is speaking here? Who is R? Well, it's unless he's speaking at, you want to say my citizenship, so who's R? Is he speaking about the state? Is he talking about Ukrainian citizenship? I would say that, although that is very tricky language, because when you say citizenship, that implies there's some sort of border. But I don't understand what that means by our citizenship. So it doesn't fit the rest of what all was said before that. These are inevitable processes that have been launched by us today. This is how independence is strengthened. Notice that it says these are inevitable processes that have been launched by us today. So it's not talking about missiles being launched. It's talking about processes that have been launched. These are inevitable processes that have been launched by us today. So they've already began the process of launching for this thing to happen all over the world. And there should be a solid border between us and the enemy. And there will be no wars between Ukrainians. So there's going to be no, again, it's saying Ukrainians as everybody who supports Ukraine and defends Ukraine. There will be no wars between them. There will be no borders between them. Other countries, Middle East, Asia, China, Russia, Turkey, Israel, Iran, United States, Canada, Mexico, Argentina, all of them. UK, Sweden, Norway, all of them. I think there's like 175 countries in the world. Don't quote me on that. I think it's less than 200. But I think it's about 175, somewhere around there. Countries that we have in the world. And if you support you, there will be no walls between any of them, and they'll be seen as Ukrainian. Spiritually, And there was, and then it reiterates by saying, because Ukraine is in each one of us, right? Independence is in united we are able to win. It was proven by February 24th. It was proven by 2022 and 2033. This is them giving an assurance. It's a promise because those people were holding flags and they saw that all these people came together. It's a very, very spiritual event that people aren't talking about. And yeah, we have withstood, restrained, and repelled the enemy, and now we continue to do so in their swamps. There are swamps in the United States. You know how they say drain the swamp and all this, but it says restrain and repel the enemy. The enemy it's referring to, you could say it's a spiritual enemy that they're fighting, that's taking over the world, and now we continue to do so in their swamps. But because it said swamps, that is a literal thing. Well, it's more literally than just saying the enemy. So that would be, well, I mean, you could say Russia has swamps, but, you know, drain the swamp, that's a common U.S. rhetoric. We know what independence, how difficult it is to revive it, how difficult it is to defend it, but we know everything depends on us. We know what independence, and I didn't read this before. We know what independence looks like. On the morning of February 24th, it was in our eyes. Today, independence is in the trenches in all directions. It is in our cities and villages. In each episode, when we find the best in ourselves, find Ukraine in ourselves, and fight for it. Independence today has tired eyes that have seen it all. Independence smiles when Ukrainians succeed. Independence is silence when we lose our people. Independence is the oath to never forget the fallen heroes. Independence tastes of smoke and dust on the battlefield and in civilian life. Independence descends into the shelter during an air raid alert to survive and to rise again, to tell you the enemy again. You will not succeed. You will fail, you will not prevail, and you will be held accountable for everything. Do you think that a pro-Russian would be reading this? Do you think they would? I don't think they would be. So they're talking to some other kind of enemy. And people say, well, that's just propaganda. That's just idiots. They're saying things like, when I was first in Ukraine, I was on, as I mentioned before, I was on, I don't know if I was on TV or anything, but they had big cameras, like television cameras. I don't know what I was on, but these two guys, well, one guy, two people came up to me, one female, one male, and they came up to me, and, well, I was walking away from it was during Flag Day, and I was walking, you know, I was headed down to Independence Square, probably maybe back home, to the hostel I was at. But anyways, these two people speak to me in Ukrainian, and they're like, I don't know what they said, but it kept getting louder and louder behind me. So I turned around, and I said, and they were motioning me to come over there. I said, no, sorry, I don't speak Ukrainian. And they said, oh, don't matter. They were speaking English now. It says, we just want to interview you. I was like, okay, sure. So I had my Ukraine flag behind me. I was like, you know, I didn't know what they wanted me for. So the lady bends down and she grabs the corner of my flag and says, what's this? I was like, I mean, talk about putting someone on the spot, but I was talking and everything, and I said, I said I wish every person in the United States knew what was going on here, because I feel something is happening. I don't know what it is, but I feel something is happening that everyone in America should see. I just had this feeling, and I was never able to identify what that feeling was. That's just how I felt it. It was like something is about this place That's different from, I've never been to a foreign country, but I felt called there, and it was just something different. This was before the war. This was the Independence Day before the war started. But yeah. So, and then afterwards we just shook hands, and I don't know what TV channel it was. All I remember was a red van and these two people, and that's all I remember. I could never find. I didn't think to ask, but it just happened. So, you know. So yeah, and another thing was when I was around there, I was wearing a Fisher Funk. A friend got me, and I would wear it even in the rain, and I just loved wearing that. And whenever it rained, people would run to make under the awnings of McDonald's or all these things along Independence Square, and I'm just walking in the rain. And it's like you can't spell Ukraine without rain. So I just walked around, and it was like I'm not here as a tourist. People can call me a tourist, but I don't feel like a tourist. I don't feel like I don't belong here. I feel like something's pulled me here, and yeah, it was a very I still can't really explain what that is, but going through everything that I've seen since the war is like everything came together. It's like, is that it? You know, it it's like the world is seeing what Ukraine is, but it's like there's something more to it than that. So it says, this is how we feel freedom. This is what Ukraine looks like. This is what independence looks like. And this is what it sounds like. Happy Independence Day, Ukrainians. Glory to Ukraine. So everyone gains independence without borders. So again, yeah, this was Ingalls, and she's on money. She's on the pink hryvnia, the 200 hryvnia. Loyasia, Loyasia, Loyasia. Banknote issued by the National Bank of Ukraine, making her one of the most prominent cultural figures on Ukrainian currency. She's the only female on there, by the way. All of them were poets. In some way or another. After Marx's death, Engels edited and completed the later volumes of Marx Das Kapital. Marxist theory, class struggle, which influenced socialist movements worldwide. So it's to liberate us from socialist movements worldwide, communism, the ideologies. Save us from these ideologies. Capitalism. All of them. So let's go back. Let's read this one. This is from last year. I haven't read this yet. But now, as you can see, it now says, Dear Ukrainians and dear people. So it separates them two. Let me see something else. I thought that P was capitalized. Just making sure. Dear Ukrainians, dear people. So now it's separated. Today is Ukraine's Independence Day. I'm here now in the heart of Kiev on Independence Square. Yeah, that's, as you can see, that's, I don't know if that's part of Globus or if that's next to the jellyfish. There's a jellyfish aquarium right next to it. I haven't been in jellyfish aquarium, but it's so strange to see that there's a jellyfish aquarium right there. They do have jellyfish in Kiev. They're in the rivers. I've seen a few of them, but yeah, they have an actual jellyfish aquarium on Independence Square. I am here now in the heart of Kiev on Independence Square, and it is here that one can feel best what independence truly means. Hang on a second. Okay. I was just seeing what he was wearing. and why Maidan is much more than just the main square of our country, for it is a symbol of independence, its guardian. This is the place where. Is that the I don't think we talked about that. Let me see. That would be. I believe. I believe that is the Man, what's that called? Um. Something gate. The Loke gate. Is that what it's called? The lock gates. Is that? Let me see. No, that's not it. Wait. No. There's another one. The Golden Gate of Kiev. Oh, that's the lock gates. I haven't seen this. But what's that other one? Golden Gate. Uh. That's the lock gates. I thought the lock gate. So we were talking about two different things. Maybe ChatGPT was. What's that called? Yeah, this is what I was talking about. At Independence Square. Lock gates in Independence Square. Yeah, this is that. So what's that other thing? I don't know what that other thing was. But this is what I was referring to, lock gates. I thought I was going crazy there for a second. Is that in the background? Let's see. No, it's not. Very symbolic. Very symbolic over there. It's where Archangel Michael was sitting on top, but that isn't that. This would be on the other side. It's on the other side, on the opposite side of, I forget which side it is on. I haven't been there, like I said, I haven't been there almost 5 years. It's been at least 4 years that I haven't been there. Anyways, let's read this. It's Guardian. The Guardian of Kiev is the Archangel Michael. He's the saint, the patriot saint of Kiev. This is the place where history is always made, where the energy and strength of our people are born in times of threat to our independence. And now that the four-scale war for independence continues, it is here on Maidan, the one you can find such powerful symbols. Symbols of how we fight, what we fight for, and how we overcome this war. These symbols are all around us. It's interesting how I was just talking about how many symbols are around there. That has to be something. That has to mean something. I don't. Right, that's what I was talking about. It's right there. I couldn't remember what side it was on. I couldn't remember if it was on the side of McDonald's, but I know it was on the side of Globus. One of the sides. No, that is not the largest flag in Kiev. It's over there by it's part of the World War II Museum, or the Great Patriot War, as they call that. So yeah, I walked up and down here all the time. You can't walk this way, but you gotta walk on the other side, on this sidewalk. But yeah, I walked around there a lot. There's another McDonald's right here, somewhere right here underground, in the mall. All of this is the mall area underneath here. There's even an elevator that goes down there. And it's all underground here. Like the entire mall is all under here. And that's Archangel Michael right there. So and where he's standing is on the other side. He's on the other side over here. Jellyfish Museum is on this side if you go down this sidewalk. Oops, I meant to drag that. So yeah, you see my mouse hit. Down this sidewalk is the Jellyfish Museum. But he's standing over somewhere in front of this area. So let's bring this back over here so you can see it. The others being the Golden Gate and the Jewish Lviv Gate. Yeah, the Golden Gate was, we just saw that. So I don't know what this is right here. I remember saying it, I just don't know what it is. In this Monument of Independence. Is it called the Monument of Independence? No, that would be the Maidan. Unless it is called that. Inside it has a reinforced... It is called the Monument of Independence. Just answers my own question. Inside it has a reinforced concrete frame and can literally withstand a hurricane, just like our Ukraine has withstood the great calamity that Russia brought to our land. Here at the 0 kilometer, this is a starting point, where distances to Ukrainian cities are marked. To our Donetsk, Luhansk, or Crimea. And today, these markers have an entirely different meaning. They are no longer just about kilometers. They remind us that all of this is Ukraine, and all our people are there, and no distance between us can change that, and no temporary occupation can alter that. And one day, this distance between Ukrainians will disappear, and we will be together again as one family, as one country. It is only a matter of time, and Ukraine believes it can achieve this. Secure peace across its entire land. Ukraine is capable of it. It's referring to the SBU here, and Ukraine believes it can achieve this. The security state, the national security is capable of it. So is that what it's actually called? I wonder. Let's Google that. I learn things when I do these videos sometimes. Actually, a lot of times. The Monument to Independence. So it's called the Monument to Independence, not of Independence. Known as El Angel, the Angel of Independence. This sounds like some sort of Roman thing. Or some pagan thing. Victory Colony Mexico. Oh, this isn't Kiev. This is Mexico. I was like, that doesn't sound right to me. Independence Monument. Okay, the Independence Monument. Oh, that's what that... Yeah, it's been a while. That's a hotel in the background there. Yeah. Wilder Bridge in her hand. Shevchenko. Yeah, this is the other side that he's on. Yeah, that's Globus. There's like a jelly... It's like a... Oh yeah, the jellyfish thing is on the other side. Over here. And then we have this. And then this is Globus. And as you see the hotel is right there. Hotel Ukraine is what it's called. Never been in there, but I know what it is. What else? So he's standing right here. I don't know the story about this monument right here. A lot of symbolism, guys. In the form of a Christian temple. Monument development formally started in the current position of the Independence Monument, which was dismantled in September of 1991 after the declaration of independence of Ukraine on 24th August 1991. I wonder if it was September 20th of 1991, which was the day that the SPU, the KGB of USSR, the Ukrainian SSSR, was renamed from that to the SPU. So I wonder if it was September 20th of 1991. The reconstruction of Maron Nazovsky Independence Square began only in 2000, and a competition was held from the 7th to 21st of September 2001 to design a new monument. Interesting how it includes that the last day is September 21st, which would be the 20th over here. So yeah, they're playing with the numbers again. That's also 2 days later would have been 9/11, September 9th of 2001. Interesting. The Independence Monument was inaugurated on 23rd August 2000. This also, another thing, is that this is also having similarities to what I've said regarding what I accidentally opened Discord. Remember I said that Maria would fly? It would be ready on August 24th of 2029, and it would fly again on September 20th of 2029. What? No, September 21st of 2029. Well, 20th, 21st, same day, really. So it's interesting how it says that the Independence Monument is on 23rd of August of 2021, which coincides with August 24th of 2029, and up here it says a competition was held from 20 until the 21st of September of 2001, which coincides to September 20th/21 of 2030. And the Independence Monument in that case would be Maria, the large airplane. It would be ready on that day. So very interesting how those parallels are there to commemorate the 10th anniversary of Ukrainian independence. In December 2014, the chief architect Kiev, can't pronounce that name, proposed replacing the monument with a new one commemorating the Heavenly Hundred. Reading this, most of them. Only 100 protesters killed during the revolution at Dignity. And they're going to have one. It's called Maria. The monument was cleaned on 23rd of May 2019. Wonder what that date signifies. Which required the use of special equipment and cranes. During the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the monument was included in a list of heritage sites to be fortified against shelling and bombing. It was removed from the list owing to cost concerns and its height making it difficult to defend. The Independence Monument consists of a triumphal column and statue at its apex. The total height of the monument is stated to be 61 or 62 meters. A spiral staircase is contained within the column. I didn't know that. I didn't know any of that. So does that mean that there's a staircase in that? It don't look that big. What is this? Pagan Slavs were polytheistic, which means they worship many gods and goddesses. It sounds like the Roman Empire. The gods of the Slavs are known primarily from a small number of chronicles or not very accurate Christian sermons against paganism. Or not very. Huh. Mormon. There's a lot of history in all of this. It's interesting because it's the pagan is above the it's above a Christian temple. I wonder what it does a lot of symbolism. So there is a staircase in that. As far as it would have to be small. It would remind me of the one. That one that's in like on the outskirts of San Antonio. Let's see if I can bring it up. I'll use this one. I know we're kind of getting off track, but we're going down all these rabbit holes. What is that in the church that was spiral? Where a carpenter came. It was in was it Texas? I believe it was it Texas? Miraculous Staircase. It's 33 steps. Yeah, this is it. Which some people would note is the age of Christ at his death. On the final day, a mysterious carpenter appeared carrying only basic tools and a carpenter's square. Some believe the carpenter was Saint Joseph himself, sent to answer to the sister's prayer. Others think the builder was simply a highly skilled craftsman whose identity was lost to history, but whose work remains remarkable. Some of them think it's Jesus. Where is this located? Laredo Chapel. Oh, it's New Mexico. New Mexico, not Texas. Oh, Santa Fe Trail, Santa Fe. That's the location. Helical ruined staircase with no visual means of support. Yeah, that's what it looks like. That's what it reminds me of when it's so small like that. It can't really be that big. And it has no supports. Yeah, the unique helix-shaped ruined staircase leads up to the choir loft in the chapel and makes 2 full revolutions without a central supporting pole. An extremely rare design, especially for the late 19th century. So yeah, you can add that thing to your list of things to learn about today. Because Ukraine has character, rock solid endurance, a gaze we do not avert, and hands scorched by fire and time, yet strong, hands that hold the shield and defend what is theirs, their land, their culture, their millennia-old history, testified by the legacy of Kiev's founders. And we defend our future. You could also say, hang on. I was thinking about that earlier when I was reading all that before. Where did it say it at? He was speaking from Ukraine as the state. Again, I didn't point it out. I can't. I believe it was when it said 33rd. That's that. Because when you say 33rd, you're referring to the state of when the KG when the SBU really when the SBU became when the KGB became the SBU, with Ukrainian USSR KGB became the SBU. That's what the 33rd thing is really about. It isn't about the state. They gotta move that back to its history. That's what the war is. It's gotta take all of us with it. We're going. It's like a time machine. It's a. That's an extremely big ambition, and I know that they're going to be able to do it. But yeah, that's putting history together like that, timelines, merging them together like that. It's gonna be difficult, but they're gonna do it. Back before when the United States was even a thing, so we're going way back in time. Be very interesting to see how they do that. I know how they're going to do it, and it has to happen, but so where was I reading from? Hands that hold the shield and defend what is theirs, their land and culture, their millennia-old history, described by the legacy of Kiev's founders. So this is talking about Ukraine again. The Ukraine of old. Not like the last one. The last one, it was mixing the state with Ukraine. It wasn't... This has very different writing. I like the other one better, to be honest. These are names we will never forget or portray, names that defended our independence, and it is here on Maidan that Ukrainians often bid farewell to heroes on the shield. And everyone who has ever been to such a farewell, and everyone who has lost someone in this war carries a personal reckoning with treasure forever. It's found never to forget their heroes. Now this is talking about Ukrainians as Ukrainians in Ukraine right now. They're not talking about foreigners and all that. This is about Ukrainians in Ukraine. The embodiment of that vow is this field of national memory, a field of great strength. The last one didn't talk about nationality or national or anything like that. For in every small flag lies some remarkable story, action, and choice. A choice in favor of Ukraine, in favor of the future, specifically the freedom of peace and the peace of freedom. This is the philosophy reflected in our culture throughout the image of Cossack. I don't want to mess up these words. Cossack, who earned his freedom and can therefore sound like someone we need to look up. Sounds like it. I'm not necessarily wanted that in ChatGPT. Legendary in Ukrainian folklore. Spirit of freedom, resilience, and the soul of Ukrainian people. A symbol rather than a clearly documented historical person, his image became specifically widespread after the destruction of Zaporozhian set in 1775. Zaporozhians were the original Ukrainians. They were Cossacks, and that's where it all began. There's an interesting story about the Zaporozhians. Turkic roots mean nobody or no name. That's also a reference to Crimea. Crimea has they had Turkey Crimea after the whole what was it? After the whole Scythian, after they left Crimea, then the Turks came through, and now they're Turkey descendants, which in legend served to make him mysterious and unconquerable, embodying the idea as a collective Ukrainian spirit rather than a single individual. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, playing a concert. with a horse beside him representing freedom and faithfulness, weapons hanging on a nearby tree, indicating readiness to defend his land. Interesting. From the cosmic way of life and creating national identity. So yeah, this is very, very national centric. For everyone that's in Ukraine, they would understand this, which is different than the last one's Independence Day of Ukraine, which was for everybody in the world who support Ukraine. I'm already at an hour. I'm already at an hour, guys. Most enduring cultural icons of Ukraine. I gotta see a picture of this because I am not familiar with this. Let's open Wikipedia. Where's a picture? Let me see. Oh, that guy. Where's the weapons nearby? I don't see no weapons hanging on trees. So in a way, you could. Is this like their version of Kalki? Which would also be the second coming of Christ. Expressing their understanding of philosophy and all that. Oh, that's who that is. I was wondering what that was about. That's I've never had coins from Ukraine. I had dollars until I had the hryvnias until they were destroyed by the fire. So yeah, this is over here by Globus. This is on Independence Square. This is on the other side of yeah, as you can see, this is the other side of the gate we saw earlier with Archangel Michael on the top. This is on the other side, and this is right here is where Zelensky's standing. Somewhere over here. This is Globus, and this is that monument we were just looking at. So very interesting. We're learning all kinds of things today. Who earns freedom and can therefore set aside his weapon and take up the cups while keeping his saber. Just in case he's free. Saber. We just went into a completely different saber. Unless saber means something else. It probably does. You gotta get. I've only heard saber in one definition. Type of sword, curved blade, saber. Okay, I've heard that before. Vaguely. Slashing, cutting, American saber. Oh, okay. I just never seen it like that. Type of sword, curved blade. I was thinking lightsaber, and don't think that you want either. Long curved blade. Saber isn't curved. Yeah, a lightsaber. That's what I was thinking about. In pop culture, for example, as a character in the Fate Stay Night series. Fate Stay Night. I don't know what that is. And in terms like lightsaber, a fictional energy sword. Or as Anakin called it, the light sword. Which isn't wrong. According to this, it's a light sword. Because saber would be another word for sword. Well, at least if you weren't using American English. Well, what actually, the word saber is American English spelling of saber, British English. I've heard of saber in British English. I've never heard of American English spelling. So yeah, American English spelling is saber. So light sword. and short, the court has its course over its extensions in sport, names, and fiction. I wasn't expecting to make a Star Wars reference in this one. Just in case, yet returning to peaceful civilian life. Which also aligns to Anakin, where he's the chosen one and he's going to. Yeah. This is what we all aspire to, and we know no one will simply give it to us. It can only be one. Like Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm sorry. Only be one. Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's what I thought when I read that. Obi-Wan. B1, Obi-Wan. You get it? This is exactly what we have been doing for 1,278 days of this war. The war for independence. For each of these days, I want to thank you, the Ukrainian warrior, the Ukrainian volunteer, the doctor, the rescuer, the teacher, all years, our parents, every Ukrainian. Thank you all for what we have already endured, and for the Ukraine we are creating together. For the Ukraine it has already become, that came of age on February 24th, that took its fate into its own hands and armed itself. It had no time to hesitate, no right to be afraid, and it truly stopped the war's second-ranked army. And we will keep saying this. We will because it shatters the myth of the invincible Russian army. So it's not using America as an enemy anymore. We have proven it, and we continue to prove it today. Each person in their own place, each who bears their principle within themselves. Notice it doesn't say Ukrainians with it. Yeah, it doesn't have that language in this. It says each person has their own place. So it doesn't talk about no borders and all that anymore. Much different writing. Who defends the right to be Ukrainians through their work, their deeds, their achievements today, and represents forwards on the battlefield. Independence shows its skies each night. It saves lives in hospitals, it saves fires, it teaches independence is not slavery around the clock. That defense enterprises because it is so important that our warriors have everything they need, that independence is everything it needs to defend itself. Yeah, it's just talking about Ukrainians here. When we hear from the enemy, I know I skipped. Every day, there is no such state, there is no such nation. And when every day we prove the opposite, we prove that Ukrainians exist, that Ukrainians remain on this land, on this square, where our future generation will stand 100 years from now, and 100 years from now they will celebrate Ukraine's Independence Day here. Yeah, this just sounds like typical national stuff. I like the other one a lot. I liked it a lot. I'm just scrolling through it to see if there's anything that catches my eye. Because I haven't read this before. Okay, this is Zelensky talking as Zelensky. This is not from SBU or anything like that. So it says we need the EU. You don't need the EU. Ukraine can operate independently away. You were just talking about independence. You're gonna trade one union for another? It says, and we do. This is Zelensky. This is President talking. But the EU needs us just as much, and everyone acknowledges this. And this is how Ukraine is seen, but a strong ally. This is starting to nationalists all over. This is like talking to nationalists in like other countries, like European nationalists, American nationalists. This is who this is targeted to. It's nothing like it, you know. Hmm. Hang on. Hang on. Hang on. Did you just play something against me? Did you just play something against me, Zelensky? It says we need the EU, and we do, but the EU needs us just. Don't tell me you just flipped what that means. Are we playing that game in this one? Look what it says. This is not just our goal, it is exactly what we want and must pass on as our legacy to our children and European and grandchildren. Sorry. A strong Ukraine, an equal Ukraine, a European Ukraine, an independent Ukraine. Are you telling me that's what EU stands for? Is that what EU stands for? We need the EU, we need the European Ukraine, but the European Ukraine needs us just as much? Is that what you meant? You thought you could get past me on that one? Because yeah, they don't need the EU, but European Ukraine, that's a whole different thing. Playing word games with me. You thought you were clever. So that the closed cycles of history are finally broken, those in which every generation lacks something to preserve their independence, and each new generation would enter a new turn, again forced to take up arms, again having to defend itself and reclaim its freedom. Sorry guys, I started reading again. I'm skimming. We are building a Ukraine strong and powerful enough to live in security and peace without the European Union. So that here on the square of our Independence Square, beneath our flags, our land, our children, we accept Independence Day. That's what independence is about. Why would you say you need the European Union when you said all that? I thought that was Zelensky being Zelensky, but you know it doesn't show up again. So yeah. Happy holiday to you, great people of a great country. Happy Independence Day, glory Ukraine. So yeah, guys, that's the end of this video, guys. I've talked at 1 hour and 18 minutes exactly. And yeah, so we learned a lot of stuff. I really loved that the poetic nature of that first president address by the president on Ukraine's of 2024, not so much last year. I didn't see any hidden meanings or anything. I couldn't see anything in between lines. But that first one, we had them everywhere. Now, we did learn a lot from this one, like the monument and the horse. I don't know how to say his name. We learned a bit about that. We learned about the lock gates. So there was some interesting stuff in here. We learned as much as we were able to decipher from the other ones. So yeah, guys. I'll end it here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.